Hi, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, wherever you are. Thank you very much for joining the Boardroom Club today to our innovation conference featuring executive from top tech company across AI, analytics, cyber, fintech, quantum computing, CRM, and whatnot. My name is Yossi Garmazi, second year MBA here at Cornell, and I'm joined here also by a classmate and a good friend of mine, Jacob Chizunza. Jacob.
Hi everyone, glad to be here today.
Yeah, so today we are fortunate enough to interview none other than Guy Tytunovich, founder and CEO of CHEQ, a cutting-edge company that specializes in the go-to-market security. CHEQ helps businesses protect their online marketing and sales from fake traffic, bots, and fraudulent activities. They are trusted by thousands of some of the world-leading brands like Twilo, Audi, Heineken, Lacoste, Payco, just to name a few. And yeah, Guy, thank you very much for joining us today.
Hey, gents. Thanks so much for having me. Great to be
Yeah,
here.
yeah. So, Guy, we thought to start by asking you what led you to the tech world in the first place.
Being a nerd is the honest answer. I started my path in tech when I was about 6 years old, and my dad brought. I'm 40 years old, so this is early 90s or late 80s, and my dad brought home a fax machine and a computer, and I thought, whoa, what is this? And I had to dismantle it and put it back together in order to decipher how it works. I didn't like I was able to assemble it back together, but I didn't figure out how it works. And it was magical for me and kind of brought me into the world of reverse engineering and tech in general. And then when I was continued being a nerd, fascinated with coding and building stuff through software. And when I was 18 years old, like all Israelis, I had to join the military. And I specifically, like most Israeli nerds, went to this program for tech and other things in the Israeli Defense Intelligence. And the rest is history.
Yeah, and I guess you also already had the, let's say, the software background, but yet you decided to take the path of entrepreneurship early on with all the uncertainty that comes with it. Can you take us back to those days and explain us how Check started in the first place?
Sure. So for me, I spent about 9 years in the defense intelligence and the defense community of Israel. And um, when I left, I started a business that didn't have a product even. That was just a digital ad network in the Middle East and North Africa. And so for me, entrepreneurship even came before the tech thing. And being a techie, tech entrepreneurship made sense further down the line. But uh, I think to those of you who didn't experience entrepreneurship, entrepreneurship is a violent journey and path, and that's if you're successful at the end, because otherwise it's even a deadly one. I can't say that I want it for my daughter necessarily, unless she wants it. It's difficult, it's stressful, it's unhealthy in many ways. And I don't regret a thing because I'm wired up in a weird kind of way. My brain is I'm crazier than most people. I needed to be that. I needed to go through that path. No other profession would have made sense for me. I wouldn't have been content doing anything else. It's not necessarily a good thing. It's just reality. And I failed many more times than I succeeded. I succeeded only once, and it was painful, but it was really the only thing I could have done for a living.
And I guess also doing the unconventional things is the same thing that you're doing in Czech in a way, because go-to-market security is literally a new category in cyber. And I guess also educating the market is a key. So you essentially tell the customer that they need something rather than maybe help to fix some specific issue. Can you share with us some of the challenges in selling product aimed at educating the market, particularly in the growth to market security?
Absolutely. So first of all, um, when you build a product and you want to sell it, your dream should always be to add value in a place where the customer already knows they need value, and where there's already a budgetary line item. Like, Enterprise X knows that they need to spend between $1 to $2 million this year on, say, cloud security. Now the competition is between the providers of cloud security technology. And then you get judged by the merits of whether your technology is better, whether your integration layer is better, whether you're cheaper, more expensive, and so on and so forth. And the relationship building. It's typically, ironically, somewhat easier to sell if you've got competition within an established category and, again, an existing budgetary line item. And specifically in security, when the CISO says to me as the CEO of the company, for instance, at CHEQ, when CHEQ is about 400 employees worldwide, so I don't argue with my executives about every single budgetary line item. So when the CISO says, listen, I need software for observability or for cloud security, I don't even it's a must. The CISO said so. I'm scared shitless to do anything else. So, there's a pre-existing budget, say 100K a year, and then the CISO does what Gartner or Forrester tell him, or what, whichever platform seems better. And with us, as you mentioned, Yossi, there is no existing budgetary line item. We scaled the business. We're fairly large now, but let's say between 50 to 100 million of revenue, of annual recurring revenue. And it's great, but it's been an uphill battle. It's been a struggle because we need to educate, and it's expensive to educate. And it's really tough to get a customer that didn't know they had a problem yesterday and they didn't budget for it and they didn't approve budget for it. And now you want to tell them, okay, there's this problem. I know you've never heard of it, or you didn't realize it existed, or you didn't realize there is a solution for it. And it's going to cost you X, and you need to find that budget somewhere. That's a big undertaking, especially given the fact that we want, everybody wants a quick sales cycle. Nobody wants to start a sales process and then wait for next year until the CEO approves budget for it. And we've been blessed, on the other hand, with having a problem that's tangible enough in order for our customers to understand they do indeed have a problem that needs solving. I got to those problems, the attack vectors that we protect from, through, again, being a cybersecurity nerd, having made the accidental detour into the world of digital advertising quite a few years ago, building a digital ad network around it, and realizing that there are so many vulnerabilities on the go-to-market side, marketing, sales, CS, that are cybersecurity problems, but no one's ever built a cybersecurity company to protect from those threats, to protect the marketing space or the go-to-market space from those vulnerabilities. And when you want to protect, say, the CMO, or the media buyer, marketing analytics, decision making, and everything to do with go to market, it's not enough to be able to kill bots or to unskew analytics and so on and so forth. You need to have that subject matter expertise in their own field. You need to be able to understand digital advertising, media buying, marketing analytics, marketing automation, to have the integration layer into all of that, to have the staff, the salespeople, and the customer success managers and the account executives to explain the problem in the context that my buyer understands. And that's all a very big undertaking. The good news is, if you manage to pull it off, then the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow is massive. But yeah.
Amazing to hear. And I guess, as you said, you need to be expert in your field in order to kind of like educate in the market. So I was just wondering, maybe a follow-up question will be, for all the young entrepreneurs there in the audience, how ideation phase usually take when you want to build a company? Any advice for an entrepreneur approaching this path?
So first of all, I'll start with how it worked at CHEQ and in my career, and then I'll talk about how it should actually work. So I've started all of my companies together with my three co-founders. And the most important thing is the team, the founding team. The idea is almost a commodity. Obviously, you need to have a good idea. You need to be able to execute it well technologically, product-wise. You need to have a really good understanding of the product market fit. You know, it's not that tomorrow morning I want to compete with Apple and sell iPhones, then yay. I've got a great founding team, so let's do it. It's important. But the most important thing to begin with is the team. And one of the most important things is that the team needs to have experience. And this is a bit of a, let's call it a bootstrap problem, because if you're a young entrepreneur, by definition, you don't have experience. So don't be afraid to fail. That's what I did. You know, until I consider myself a very good business operator. I know how to build a business, scale it up, build a sales organization, a CS organization, finance around it, HR, recruiting, you know, the playbooks, I've learned them. I've learned them from very experienced people who joined me along the way. I've learned them through failure. It's experience, and it's easier to learn it from, or it's more painful, but it's easier to learn it when it's not taught by someone else, but when you actually experience it, whether through failure or accidental success. So I've and my team, we've succeeded a couple of times, failed a bunch of times. Our biggest success was at CHEQ when we kind of came to a stage in our lives and careers where we had figured out how to build a business or a software business at scale. And and a and the idea is also a result of failures. It's not that, you know, I mentioned earlier, I started digital ad network, and then I had realized that there are a ton of cybersecurity vulnerabilities that no one is dealing with. It's way, way more complex than that. It wasn't a eureka moment. And even after starting CHEQ, we built products that were great and better than everything else that was there, but the integration was a nightmare. And we were selling to ad agencies back then, and these are not the type of, it's not the buyer persona that you want to sell something with a tough integration to, just because it's a better product. And so we pivoted and pivoted and pivoted, I think about 3 times until we owned in on exactly where we are today and exactly where we should be. Again, through failure, through readjustments, and so on. What needs to be understood is that, again, I said earlier, the most important thing is the execution and the team that is able to execute, and the idea less so. But even the idea doesn't start and end with, okay, you know, I've got a pen. This is the idea. The idea for the product needs to take into consideration a million bits and bytes that are going to be crucial for its success. Whether you're selling to the right buyer persona in terms of how complicated the integration layer is, whether they have a budgetary line item, whether it's a, I'm just as an example, you want to sell a product to SMBs, and but you don't know how to reach those SMBs, whether you're selling to CIOs or you think you're selling to CIOs, whether there's a we called hyperscalers, like a marketplace like the AWS marketplace that could accelerate your growth, whether this is actually an interesting problem to solve, or it will be in 5 years, but it's not today, and a million other things that go into this one word called idea that can turn it from a theoretically interesting idea to a terrible idea or to the best idea ever. Um, in terms of what serial entrepreneurs typically do, though, it's similar to that, but those who can afford not to fail anymore because they have failed already know that they can, no matter what the idea is, they can build a large company because they've got the playbooks. They also know need to tap into their network and talk to, let's say you're doing cybersecurity. You need to talk to every CISO if you're selling to enterprise, and any enterprise CISO under the sun, and ask them, what are the problems that you wish you would have been able to solve and I can build for you? And you talk to potential investors that you trust, not in order to sell a product to the CISO or to raise an investment from the VC, but to ideate, to own in on an idea that is actually a good, valid product market fit.
I will take it as don't be afraid to fail and pivot when necessary. And
Absolutely.
pivoting, yeah. And now pivoting to another subject are actually the trends in the market. So I read few of your articles in Forbes, and you specifically talk about the biggest threats being, for example, the escalating danger of malicious bots. And as you also mentioned before the call, you were in the Adobe call, and you just announced the industry first multi-layer detection engine that combines traffic, threat, and identity intelligence. Can you share with us maybe about this game-changing announcement?
Absolutely. So 8 years ago, when we started the company, we called it CHEQ, and we bought the domain check.ai. We had, bots are basically artificial intelligence. It's not LLMs. It's not, but it's artificial intelligence. It's a user that tries to mimic the human being behavior, and in some cases commit a crime on behalf of that humans. Other cases commit a positive thing, a positive action. Um, and our dream was for AI to get to a point where it's not just bad users. Bots are typically synonymous, even to laymen, people who don't understand anything about cyber, or, as a negative thing. Typically, the bot's intent is nefarious. Very few of the bots are there to do something positive, but that is all changing now. Our dream has always been to literally check your AI, and for AI to become so good, smart, reliable that it could actually act positively and not just nefariously. As in, if I want to buy a pair of sneakers on Nike, I would send my AI agent to do that. If I want to cancel an Amazon order, I would send my AI agent to do that. If I want to check into my hotel room, I'd send in my AI agent to do that. And a lot of the positive actions that an AI agent that I used to do yesterday, tomorrow the AI agent working on my behalf could do. An AI agent is a bot, a new kind of bot, a smarter bot. And most importantly, we believe that it's going to change everything. We believe that in very short time, a huge percentage of internet revenue with e-commerce services everywhere is going to be acquired by AI agents, not by Jacob and not by Yossi, but by their agents. Um, and we acquired 3 companies to date. Two of them have to do with AI agents to a certain extent. And because now CHEQ is the only company in the world that knows not just to detect that, this is a bot, this isn't a bot, or this is an AI agent by Anthropic, and this is actually Yossi, and this is an AI agent by ChatGPT operator. But now we can also say, okay, Jacob is using ChatGPT operator in order to buy plane tickets. But so we know it's an AI agent, we know it's ChatGPT operator, but is it, and it's saying it's operating on behalf of Jacob, but is it actually operating on your behalf? Or is it a fake identity? So the company we acquired a few months ago, thejuice.com, allows us to say not just that this is an AI agent working on behalf of Jacob, but whether or not it actually works on behalf of Jacob. That's a bit of a simplification of that, but essentially the ability to do so in this agentic AI world future that we believe is going to come upon us is crucial, because now it's not enough to know that it's a bot and decide that it's nefarious intended. Now we need to verify the identity as well to make sure that it's not a rogue, even though it's buying plane tickets on behalf of Jacob. Now we need to make sure that it is indeed Jacob's AI agent, and we need to enable businesses to make the decision of this is good and this is bad, because it's not going to be bot or human anymore. It's going to be good versus bad. It's going to be users, whether they're AI agents or human beings, that are there for nefarious reasons or positive reasons versus those that are not.
Yeah, it seems very futuristic. And speaking about bots, I guess it's in the news recently that bots actually can distort popularity metrics as well. And specifically, if we talking about one of the company that recently has been in the news is X, formerly Twitter. And taking you back maybe to the end of 2023, it was reported that you signed an agreement with X and Elon Musk specifically to help them battle all the high rates of fake news, fake user story. And can you share with us how this maybe collaboration started? And yeah.
I wish I could have, because it never started. I did meet with him once for a couple of hours, and it was fascinating. When he came to Israel, I think in November of 2023, right after the 7th of October, and but it didn't go into a collaboration. I am, on a personal level, incredibly worried about the ability to distort public opinion, or to control it or influence it in whichever way. The tools to do it are the social networks more than anything, whether it's X, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, even TikTok. And um, the thing about bots is that one person can operate a bajillion bots, a bajillion identities. So, and the virality algorithm of the social networks takes into account engagement. So let's say I control a network of 1 million bots, fake users, and in a sophisticated manner, use that in order to engage with, repost certain tweets that reflect my agenda. And I'm just one person. Very likely that this is going to influence the virality and the crowds that post that I just engage with 1 million times through my bots, the crowds and audiences that it would reach. And that is incredibly, incredibly dangerous. And I mean, we've already seen it multiple times in every scenario possible, or actually every single time there's a political event or either a geopolitical event. We witness a huge surge in bots in social networks in pretty much the month leading to it. Why? We don't, we can speculate, but we don't actually know. We just know that there's a lot more activity, a lot more bot activity, to the tune of, in some cases, 2x, 3x, and more. Um, and we see it across every geo that we operate in, whether it's the US, for instance, that's our biggest market, obviously, or whether it's Israel, just because we're Israeli and we're interested in this, so we have in this geo, so we have a bunch of customers here as well, or whether it's the UK, Germany, and every single time. Now, explain to me, why would there be a surge in bot activity leading up to political events? Again, speculating, but I can only think of one reason, and that's the manipulation of public opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And it does seem maybe in the last year, specifically in the US, more relevant than ever. Yeah, and maybe last question for myself before we moving on to Jacob, that is already fascinating question for you, is that in your last report published in the CHEQ website, you reported significant differences, specifically in the percentages of fake traffic by different browsers. For example, while Safari seems relatively safe with only 6.4, percent. Chrome stands at 24.5, and Internet Explorer at 31.9. Pretty staggering. And why do you think there is such a differentiation? And what would you maybe advise to this company in order to battle it?
So I think, first of all, every company out there, whether it's Google or Meta or is doing something, and Google and Meta specifically are doing an amazing job at battling bots and bot activity, especially to their own platforms, whether it's google.com, YouTube, facebook.com, and so on. And the reason that they still have a bot problem is because they're the largest sitting ducks on the internet by design. They're there. It's very difficult for a defender to evade an attack if everybody knows where they are. And still they do a pretty good job. Not perfect, but they do the max of what they can do. And no matter the resources invested, no matter the, um, and the problem with everything that I had just mentioned is that there's like nuclear windfall that you can never get rid of. For me, it's an opportunity. For me, it's an advantage of being a company like us. But for them, that's the problem. Now, in terms of the browser activity and how it relates, or why there's such a huge difference between browser A and browser B, many reasons. In a lot of the cases, we can only speculate. Some of them have to do with cost of work. It's more difficult to let an automation tool, a script, to use. It's more expensive to use in terms of resources, in terms of license, to use Safari as a browser than it is, say, Internet Explorer, for the simple reason that the main operating system out there free is Microsoft Windows. So that's just one example, but there are many more. In addition to that, you would typically see the division of fraudulence of bot activity between the browsers behave similarly to how you would expect humanity to be divided. As in, and I don't remember the numbers, but typically, if 50% of the people use Google Chrome, then 50% of the bots would also use Google Chrome. The reason for that, in a lot of the cases, is because they try to mimic human behavior. They try to look like legitimate users. So they want to do a lot of things that normal human being users would do.
Super insightful. And Guy, thank you very much for answering all of my questions. I learned a lot, although no a CS guy, still was super insightful for me. And yeah, without further ado, Jacob, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you very much, Guy. It was very informative. I think I've learned about SaaS and all those things in the last 30 minutes. Just taking you another side, last year there was an event that took place, CrowdStrike shutdown. How did it impact your business?
So I'm a huge fan of CrowdStrike. What George Kurtz and his company has done for the world of cybersecurity, for cybersecurity companies, for the world of security is mind-boggling. I think according to the public reports, they've built revenue of about $4 billion, growing massively in like 12 years. Nuts. And they've been working as a super agile startup from the get-go and until now. This is difficult to do at scale. This is, how they do it is pure magic. And we're customers of theirs, by the way. We absolutely love the products and the company. And I think, and it's an enterprise product. So to operate as a startup, or in agility like a startup would, while providing one of the most enterprise-ready products that has ever been out there, is a challenge that they have successfully overcome. But in some cases, you pay the price of being the innovator, of being the best tool out there. And I think that's what happened with the outage to a certain extent. Again, that's just speculation, but and I don't think any other company, by the way, would. I think they were unlucky. I think it could have happened to Microsoft or to CHEQ or to a tiny startup or to the biggest company on the planet. It's just how it works. And I think every single customer of theirs almost understands it and understood it. That it happens. It's not pleasant, it's not nice, it's not, but it happens. It's inevitable almost. Um, and I think yeah, like everybody was talking about, oh, this is going to be great for the CrowdStrike competitors and terrible for CrowdStrike. At the beginning, I was saying it's not going to have almost any impact, especially when you look even a year ahead. Like people aren't dumb; they understand these things could happen, these outages, and they also understand that if it happened to, I think they're the second largest cybersecurity company on the planet, then it could happen to anyone. And so it didn't really have an effect on them, on the industry, on the customers, on us. We just, I knew they would write it off.
Wow. I think the benefits of being trusted by your clients and also seeing the value in the products you give, I think that's the outcome. Just taking it back to your home ground, right? We have seen a surge in cyber companies coming out of Israel. We have had good news about Wiz, Iceland, Amis, and others. How do you see the industry evolving over the last, the next 5 to 10 years? Do you expect any consolidation in that space?
Absolutely. You're talking about cybersecurity specifically or all of tech?
Or cyber companies. We have had many news of cyber companies in the last few months.
I think there used to be, still is, a trend of companies providing, I don't know if the right term would be niche products, but like products that even I, as a cybersecurity professional, don't understand. I don't understand why there are so many companies that raise a ton of money with zero revenue, or almost zero revenue. And I don't understand where's the business there. I don't understand why I need a product there. And yet people are investing in it, hoping that one of the big guys is going to acquire that company. I think in most cases, no one acquires those companies, even if Excel or Sequoia invests in them. And I think CISOs, God bless them, you'd be shocked, but they're still human beings. So to work with a gajillion vendors, each one claims to be the number one, whatever acronym expert you want, like, not sustainable. It's crazy. I'm very much against it. People made a lot of money doing absolutely nothing and contributing nothing. And then on the other side, there's the CrowdStrikes of the world and the Palo Alto Networks and Checkpoint and obviously this tiny company called Wiz and Orca Security and others that have built businesses. And I regard ourselves as one of those companies. We're even one of the largest privately owned cybersecurity companies in the world now. And you've got the CyberArks and the Zscalers, and these are platforms. So when you look at consolidation, these are the obvious candidates. And we've bought 3 companies to date, but the thing is, I think more than consolidation, there's just going to be redundancy. It's not just that there's not enough business for 10 identical companies to do what they do and coexist. I don't think there's, in a lot of those categories, there's not enough business for one to exist. Again, most of these acronyms, I don't even understand. I don't, and I'm a techie, I'm just an honest one. And the CISOs are saying the same. So how can a human being work with 100 different vendors? You need one, you need 5, but you can't work with dozens. So it's not just consolidation, it's death. I literally think a lot of the categories, a lot of the companies, people are gonna understand that, it's not just inflated valuations. There's no value in them, and there's no way to build a business around them. And I think those who deal with real topics and that have built and scaled real businesses, big businesses, they're gonna win. And I think Wiz, CyberArk, Okta, Ping Identity, Palo Alto, CrowdStrike, and others have proven that, and even us, even though we're not quite as big as Palo Alto Networks, but almost. Um, and so again, yeah, I think cyber entrepreneurs who thought they can build a button and sell it for 300 million bucks, I don't think that's going to be reality in the coming years.
It's very informative, we are always learning, every time you speak, we are always getting more information. I'm going to ask
Thank you.
one question before we go into the funny stuff, I'll allow my friend to interview. Just speaking in terms of, the last transaction, right? We have had people speaking about Wiz. What do you think will be the impact of the recent 32 billion deal by Google on local cybersecurity companies and possibly the Israeli tech industry as a whole?
That's a very good question. And the honest answer is I have no idea. I think, like if there were 32 acquisitions, each one of $1 billion, but of 32 different companies, it would have been definitely massively impactful in terms of the effect on the industry. There's so many more wealthy people suddenly that can invest and put that money to work in the existing ecosystem. It's an obvious proof of legitimacy and viability for the industry that, so many, but it's an outlier. It's one company, one of the fastest, if not the fastest growing company in the history of enterprise SaaS. And, in 5 years, I think or thereabout, they grew from 0 to $700 million of ARR. It's nuts, especially for an enterprise B2B company. And so I don't know if it's going to have an impact with, say, bankers and investors saying, "Oh my God, there's this how did we not look before at this country?" And in addition to that, I mean, it's just one case. In addition to that, Israel's been known to be a powerhouse in tech in general and specifically in cybersecurity. So it's not like everyone is looking suddenly at Switzerland and saying, "Oh my, we didn't know. The Swiss are so good at cybersecurity. Let's invest here." And everyone's already invested in the companies here. We had raised about $183 million to date, and so I don't know if it's going to have that kind of impact. I think there's another wonderful Wiz competitor called Orca Security, and phenomenal technology, terrific company, and I think it's really good news for them if they'd ever want to sell, because obviously, or for many other reasons, but obviously now there's a multiple out there, and the other CSPs need to maybe do something like what Google did with Wiz. But for the greater industry, I don't know. I again, going back to my previous topic, I think cybersecurity in every other software business needs to be around big companies, people who solve real and big problems and can build real big companies around it, like CrowdStrike, like Palo Alto, and I think that's going to take center stage. And I think if anything, Wiz showed that it's possible to compete with these giants.
No, thank you very much. It's just mind blowing. We're gonna jump into funny questions, and I'm gonna ask Yossi to, ask you those questions. Thank you very much,
With
guys.
pleasure. With pleasure.
Yeah, so Guy, maybe like a quick fire chat now.
Sure.
Any advice for an entrepreneur in one sentence?
Yeah, go be an employee. I'm
Yeah,
kidding. Don't be afraid to fail.
yeah. Any great mentor along the way?
My co-founder, Ehud, and My best friend, older brother, mentor, and co-founder.
Yeah. I saw also that you have a lot of tattoos. Any favorite one?
Yeah, that one. It's my wife.
Ah, lovely. Ah, nice. I love it. And I mean, I know that you're a CEO and super busy, but any special hobbies outside of work?
Just raising my daughter. I've got another one on the way. And
Ah,
I think
congrats.
people need to understand, thanks. People need to understand this entrepreneurial path with all its ups and downs and positives and negatives. It doesn't leave you with much time to do anything. And for me, it's perfectly fine because I'm perfectly content with having two things in my life. My family, as in wife and daughter to be, and my company. Um, but those are the two things I'm focused on.
Nice. And last questions. Any favorite book or movie that you read or watched recently?
Many, but my favorite all-time show is Better Call Saul. I think those people deserve a Nobel Prize. I mean, it's just the best fiction I've ever consumed, whether through television, cinema, or literature.
It's amazing. It's actually one of my favorite as well. Bob Odenkirk is genius. And
Genius.
when I realized that its name actually was kind of like, you know, it's all good man, and then it's like Saul Goodman. I said like, whoa, this is just like
M-
mind-boggling for me.
My wife. So I watch everything with my wife, and she was the one to among the two of us, like me and her, to decipher that that's what it means. And she did that in during Breaking Bad, and I
No way.
was flabbergasted. It's all good, man. It's just blown away. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm amazing, and yeah, I still actually don't know if they're gonna do another series, just like to see what's going on with the man after all. But I guess maybe that's a wrap for the show. And
Unfortunately,
yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
yeah. So, Guy, thank you very much for joining us. Super appreciate you joining us and trust us. It was really super insightful for us, just like to get into the cyber world and what's going on with CHEQ and how you innovate in such an amazing world. And for
Thank you so
everybody
much.
else, yeah, and for everybody else in the audience, stay tuned. We have another upcoming speakers that going to the show. We have one of the co-founder of Payoneer, Yuval Tal, and then we are gonna publish actually, I think in a couple of days, the chat with Wix chairman, and we have other than that, Dan Amiga from Ireland will also join us. And so will be fascinating as well. And yeah, we have also the Redis and NVIDIA calls. So thank you very much, everybody. And Guy, thank you very much, so
Thank you
much.
guys for having me.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you. I enjoyed this.
All right, take care.
Have a great one.